Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani, and the big news out is that the former Abia Governor Orji Uzor Kalu and current Chief Whip in the National Assembly, the Senate, has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for corruption. Is it a surprise or is it not a surprise? Well, my guest this morning got Mr. Justice Ufwebu, lawyer and human rights activist, and Mr. Femi Aino, international lawyer, to help us look at the matter. He's been convicted. It'll be 12 years. He'll be spending 12 years there, subject to whatever happens at the appeal. But where we stand right now, he's in prison custody. Yes. Because he has been convicted. Yeah. The way these things go, he probably has a right of appeal. Didn't hear very much about that, but by and large, the correct news is that 12 years in jail. In fact, as one paper states it in front of me, Kalu joins Dadiye in Yame in prison. There are also other former governors that have been convicted. My guest this morning to look at this whole matter and the implication of it, Mr. Femi Aino. Yeah, he's a UK lawyer. He's also a Nigerian lawyer. Maybe I just leave everything at international lawyer. Good morning, and thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And, well, a Nigerian lawyer, human rights activist, Justice Ufwebu. Good morning, and thank you very much for coming on.
It's my pleasure once more.
Indeed. It's been quite a while, but delighted to have you. Let me kick off with you, if I could, Justice. This has been going on for a long while, 12 years, in fact, and coincidentally, it's been going on for 12 years, and the sentence ended up in 12 years imprisonment. The judge said, among other things, that he was finding it quite difficult to arrive at any other conclusion but the one that he did deliver, which was guilt. He commended the FCC, said they'd done a thorough job, and there was no gaps, no lacuna, and I guess he was implying that anybody who saw it differently, well, the facts in front of him were what they were. So it isn't just Orji Uzor Kalu, also, you know, a finance person that worked with him back in the day. Tell us, give me your impressions, because in the past, Nigerians had said that we're not seeing any results of this whole war against corruption. It's in mouth, it's in hot air. Would this be an indication of, well, these things, the wheels of justice grind slowly, but if you're patient, you will get results?
Well, yes, as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't a surprise to me, knowing the level of our judicial system. Like you said, you tried to quote what the judge said. I think he made that as an obiter, that he couldn't arrive to any other decision than guilty. It's just like what I used to tell people, that vanity has no other definition except vanity. So that is just exactly what has happened here. And you see, what I keep on telling people, especially the anti-graft agencies like the police, the DSS, and all the rest, is not just taking matters to court. Do your homework, because cases are won in chambers and they are lost in chambers. So you're just going outside there to do what you have prepared. And remember, this matter started about 12 years ago. And they later amended the charge.
That's right. And
added about 2 or 3 more charges. And I believe they did their work very, very well. And remember, it's not just an issue of maybe originating process. It's an issue where a process is taken. Witnesses are called, you defend yourself, and the court looks at what is on ground and what you have to put. Let me tell you one thing. Oputa JSC of blessed memory once said something, let me quote him. He said that the law court is not an election ground where you go to count people head to head. For one witness, if believed by the court, is enough to secure a conviction, even in a murder trial. So exactly what has happened. But the issue of anti-corruption, yes, I can say that, well, it doesn't really matter when it started. The end, most times, people used to say, justifies the means. In as much as all these things have been said, but I still have reservation. I still have a problem with that judgment.
You do?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to come back to it. No doubt we'd like to hear it. Mr. Femi, I know.
Yes.
Well, he said he wasn't surprised, but then he veered, he veered saying that knowing the judiciary. I thought it was going to end with not being surprised about the facts of the case and how it ended up, but you know, that's the way it went. Give me, when this news hit you, how did you take it?
My reaction?
Yes.
Yes, it's very simple. It's a bittersweet. And I'll tell you the sweet, whether you want the bitter or the sweet. Let's start with the sweet first. The sweet is that Orji Kalu will be spending Christmas behind bars.
Is that the bitter or the sweet?
No. That's the sweet for the Nigerian people.
Okay, that's the
who
sweet.
are the victim of his atrocities.
Okay.
And by and large, one thing
because
we need to know.
because we can't be saying alleged atrocities anymore.
No, there's nothing alleged. It's a convicted criminal. That's not negotiable.
Okay.
Whether the Court of Appeal or Supreme Court overturn that, we cross that bridge when we get there. Let's stay where we are now on the bridge. The sweet aspect for the Abia people is this: at least they will have their money back one way or the other. Although it might take time, but there is hope at the end of the tunnel. The other sweet about it is that we are now sending a signal to the world that Nigeria is not a safe haven for criminals who are going to use the delay or the ineffective, the problem with our judicial system as a barrier to facing their atrocities. And the point is this: if you commit the crime, you must be ready to serve the time. That is the reality of things. And others, there are about 19 politically exposed people who are under investigation or who are in court one way or the other as we speak. For those 19, they should learn a lesson from this case, that if you know, I've said this on your program and I'm repeating it, if you know you are innocent, your first bet is this: go in the witness box, clear yourself, and go home and enjoy with your family. But if you know you are guilty, rely on your lawyer's advice, raise your hand up, and the judge will deal with you appropriately. And also there's one thing we need to take cognizance of. Some of these white-collar criminals, Orji Kalu and Ariye, all of them, to the Nigerian people, we don't want them in prison per se, too long in prison. Even if I'm the judge, I would have given him 30 years anyway. But notwithstanding, we don't want them in prison. The reason being, what we need to do is to take profit out of their criminal activities by either seizing their assets and getting that money back into the public purse. That should be the priority. But leaving that aside, you see, there's something developing in this country now. And I don't blame some of the defense counsel. Number one, and I will tell you, Mr. Yori, if you have been monitoring things in the last few weeks, what they try to do, they come to court with these accused people. At the end of the day, rather than facing the issue at hand, they create some sort of crisis between the defense and the judge, whereby either the judge will lose his temper. And once that happens, the next thing they will do is to write a letter to the chief judge of that court and say, take that case from Mr. Justice. Let's start with another judge. And then time will have been wasted.
Because they suspect bias.
This is the point. And my concern about this, we can't even though I'm not a great fan of the EFCC, but leaving that aside, you can't even blame the EFCC in this case. How long? The bitter aspect.
The judge actually commended the EFCC.
Yes, I take your point. But do take my point about the bitter aspect is that how come it took 12 years to get this conviction? That is an issue we need to face. And if you keep doing that, a lot of people will get away with murder if care is not taken. Because number one, memory fade away. Number two, documents get lost. Number three, people die. And then the important witness, as time goes by, they might fall sick and they say, look, there's something wrong with their head, is already messed up.
So there are risks.
There are a lot of risks
in
all this delay.
The mills of justice grinding slowly.
You see, because what Orji did was that he was charged to court in 2007 and dischallenged the jurisdiction of the court. That went all the way to the Supreme Court until they said, look, go down and go and face. It's not supposed to happen. Once these people are charged to court, even I know the Administration of Criminal Justice Act has dealt with some of these issues. But once they have any appeal, let's deal with that in a punctilious manner so that they face the consequence of their action. And I'm saying this to you, that even if if you know you are guilty, if you know you are innocent, there is no point creating unnecessary barrier. Because number one, as soon as the police or EFCC call you, that is the first opportunity for you to go and clear yourself. That, look, oh, as at the time you allege I committed this offense, I was at TVC. This man is my witness. They let you go. But if you have something to hide, what they will do is to go to the state high court and get an injunction in perpetuity that EFCC must not arrest me from cradle to my grave. Is that consistent with the act of an innocent person?
Okay.
And it's not limited to Mr. Orji. There are a lot of them, a busload of them. And I've said this, and I'm repeating it, in this country, in as much as I'm proud to be a citizen of this country, I don't know what will happen if I come to this world again, because I'm not coming here. It's either they leave me in heaven or hell, whatever. But let me just tell you, Mr. Yori, that there are people in this country that we ought to have locked up and throw the key in the ocean. But some of these people, they are in the Senate, they are either former this, former that, whatever. It's just because we can't bring them into conviction.
As you know,
yes,
better than most, nobody can be sent to jail without the due process.
Yes, that is why that due process is what we need to look at.
Yes.
The EFCC has done a good job. They were, They commended by the judge. That is just that's just one out of many.
All right. Yeah. Justice, the other point, well, 2 points actually. Number one, you had said that you actually have an issue with the judgment. But before then, something that Femi touched on is the matter of Abia people will get their money back. I have seen commentary that, wait a minute, Slock, his holding company that, is taking care of everything, that company has been wound up, and the judge has directed that all its assets be forfeited to the federal government. Now, how is that going to work? Given what Femi said, will the federal government now, in the goodness of his heart, when it has taken custody of all of the assets, now just shift them on to the Abia people, say, take your load?
In fact, if you remember, I said that I have a problem with the judgment. That is where I have a problem with the judgment.
Okay.
If you remember the case of Alamesia, when he was convicted, his assets were said to be forfeited to the Bayelsa government. Now, Orji Kalu, purportedly, or by conviction or standing trial, as a former governor of Abia State, where did he make the money? Where did he get all this money from? Is it not from Abia State government? So why would the judge now order for forfeiture of his properties to federal government? It is wrong.
Now that the judge has pronounced this particular point, now that he has pronounced, is there any opportunity to further refine that later on?
Yes, I expect the AG of the state to go to court for a judicial review.
Okay.
It can be done because the court can undo.
And a determination,
yeah,
right?
the court can actually undo what has been done. There's no two ways about it. Okay. The court even has powers to overrule itself at times. You understand the thing? But so that is weird because if the Abia people do not benefit from this, as far as I'm concerned, justice has not been done. Totally. Because justice is not only for justice to be done, but also for justice to be seen to have been done by the people. And who are the people there? Here, the people of Abia State.
Thank you very much. Because the very point you touch on, justice being seen to be done,
yes,
that has been in very, very scarce supply.
That is the thing.
So this is why people probably a bit optimistic about this. Optimistic about, wait a minute, are we going to, President Buhari and his, everybody said at the beginning that it's not going to be it's not going to be business as usual. Well, this is one instance where it has actually turned out not to be business as usual because there are those who are saying this wouldn't have happened before.
No, it's not true. It's not true. It has happened.
Because you've mentioned some governors, and that was before now.
It has happened in the past. Some governors some former governors have been convicted and sent to prison before now. You understand me? What we are saying is that this one took a long time. And even if you look at their own, it also takes a long time. But the problem, like my brother said, most times, you see, I think we should also look at a way to review our judicial system, especially the criminal justice again, to look at it holistically again. Because you see, one of the problems why matters delay in court, especially criminal cases, is because the security agency here will, most times, they will arrest a suspect and start investigation. Do you understand the thing?
Yeah.
So within the period of starting investigation, if you arrest my friend and I know I had 1 or 2 deals with him, what will I do? I will run away, and it can still the process of trial in court. But like in the Western world, before the police takes you to court, they have all their reports, all their SBs, all their evidence. So when you now get there, they confront you with all these things, and you don't have a choice than to do what? To plead guilty.
Yeah.
So that is the difference here, and I think that is.
But in this case, as we said earlier, the judge commended the thoroughness and how scrupulous EFCC had been.
I want to say this also: the court has no business doing that. Yes. The court has no business doing that.
Okay,
well, let me tell you.
No, it's short and sweet. I hear you.
Yeah, the court is just an arbiter. So, I don't know whether you're saying. So commending them, are you commending them for doing their job? You yourself, who is commending you? It's a matter of garbage in, garbage out. You cannot.
Femi, wait
a minute. The court is not a Father Christmas to give what he does not. To give you what you do not ask. So what I'm trying to say, most times, we must not play to the gallery.
Okay, that's what
you are there to do your job, looking at the evidence before you holistically. And that is why most times when you see a judge pronouncing judgment, they will always confine themselves by saying, by the evidence before me.
Okay.
Because you have looked at the two of them side by side.
Okay, that's the that's the way you
that's my own position. Yes. Wait a minute. Even in the Western world we're talking about, you can never see a judge commending a prosecutor somehow.
Well, I'm not sure, because if a thorough job has been done, I don't think the job. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer.
What is thorough about it?
What is thorough
about it? A matter that
it?
started 12 years ago.
Okay. Before you come in, sir,
Yes,
I know you want to come in. Good morning, Mr. George. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to the guests, too.
Sure.
Uncle Yori, first of all, the gentleman on the left, Mr. Fuego or Uegu, I remember he has appeared on your program severally and accused the Buhari government of running only after PDP people, that he does not deal with people in his own party.
Yeah, yes.
Orji Kalu is not is a member of the APC, and he's actually a senior officer in the Senate. Is he still saying the same thing now?
Okay.
That's my first question.
That's your first question. Okay.
The second comment I want to make is that Orji Kalu committed this offense, or allegedly committed this offense, over 12 years ago. For me, it is an indictment on our judiciary that if we have to take them 12 years to make a man account for fraud that he committed. And so many have gone like that without, being convicted. So the Chief Justice of Nigeria should please, I'm pleading, Mr. I know we know what I'm saying, ACJA law, ACJA, the law that President Jonathan caused to be promulgated, says that you should try people consecutively, not that you will adjourn a case for 3 years. That he should ensure that this ACJA law is enforced in Nigeria. Let there be justice that brings about peace.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to be consistent, or are you going to change your mind in the light?
Why would I change my mind? Let me tell you one thing.
You know,
he said something.
To be clear, the statement that you had, that I don't know if you want to deny it or accept it, is that these people continue, that is, anti-graft authorities, are chasing PDP people exclusively.
The opposition, yes. Let me tell you one thing. You see, let me help him. Listen to me. The truth is this. At the inception of this administration, all the people that were being witch hunted were all the opposition.
You are calling investigation witch hunting?
No, yes, I'm coming. It's not a matter of investigation or not a matter of... Let me tell you one...
No, but you
there
just
are
said
so
the word...
many people. There are so many people.
Witch hunting is a negative word. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to be clear.
Okay,
You are
that have been investigated. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
Because the facts and the evidence, they are there, that we are Nigerian, there are no two ways about that. But let me also say this, if you must hear and if you want to know. Most of them were deceived by the statement of the APC National Chairman, Adams Oshomole, when he said that join APC and your sins will be forgiven. And that was why many of them, like my brother said something. If you know you're guilty, my brother, we're human beings. If you know you have committed a crime, you know. As at the time you were invited, this man was invited by EFCC. Immediately he left office, Fayose. He went and submitted himself. I'm not saying he's guilty or he's not guilty. They are still doing the matter. But what stops you from going to submit yourself, and investigation starts from there? And if you know you're guilty, in order to stop the wasting of time of the court, you can go for plea bargain. But what I'm trying to say, most of them were deceived by that statement of the APC National Chairman by saying, join APC and your sins will be forgiven. Have their sins been forgiven? Let me tell you, like we say, justice may take time. But at the end of the day, if we have a proactive judiciary, we must get there. Because it is not a crime against one person. It's a crime against the state. And remember, time does not run against the state.
Yes, when it's criminal.
A crime committed 100 years ago can be brought up today.
Okay.
So even if somebody is shouting
as you were speaking, you actually reminded me of a further comment, another comment of the judge, in which he was actually quoting Delegiwa, the late Delegiwa,
yes,
along the lines that you have just said. Say, you cannot escape that. It might take a while, and even if not here, I'm paraphrasing Delegiwa's quotes that the judge used, which was, something of an eye-opener, but you probably read it too. But in the meantime, before I come to you, sir, let me bring in Mr. Joshua in Irewole. Good morning, sir.
Very good morning, and good morning to your guests. A happy weekend to you.
Thank you.
I want to say that following Mr. George's comment, that your guests, on behalf of all Nigerians that have been criticizing Buhari that he's fake, he's not pursuing this corruption crusade with good intention. I think he should apologize to the government, to Buhari, on behalf of his group, because they really did everything to discredit this campaign and this crusade against corruption. I'm happy that things are working, because the president said initially that he's a man who wants to follow due process, and he's been, the process, everything is slow. Now we see it. I want to say concerning Orji Uzor Kalu, that if PDP had remained in government, this guy would never have been convicted. It will remain permanent. That is why we are having 12 years.
Well, you can only guess at that. To be fair, Mr. Joshua, you can only guess at that. It's a bit speculative.
Uncle Yori is not speculative. Magu was not confirmed for 4 years of therapy. It was a battle. The government had to insist that Magu will remain. If Magu had been removed, somebody else would have been compromised.
Okay.
Now we know why the guy is not being compromised. When the Ganduje dollar scandal came up, I phoned to a radio station and I told them, I said, this government is serious about corruption. I said, because for that high-profile individual to have such a case in the public shows that things are no longer being covered. I knew from that time that this is a serious matter, and all the politicians who are wise are taking it seriously. Now, my own is to the citizens of Nigeria, Uncle Yori. Why do we condone corruption? Why do we celebrate corrupt politicians? How can somebody steal 7 billion about from a state and is still being celebrated? Why are we like this? We should talk to ourselves, Nigerians, and stop condoning corruption.
Okay.
That is where this matter is going to be resolved. Government cannot do it alone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Joshua. Let me go on a commercial break so that we don't get interrupted. We'll come back and continue with this. We continue taking your calls. Stay with us, please. Okay, welcome back. Justice Ufwegu and Femi Aino still with us, and we're looking at the conviction yesterday of Orji Uzor Kalu. And I've been handed a breaking story here. In fact, I'll just read it direct. The resumed, it concerns Mr. Showore, who, as you know, has been granted bail. At the resumed sitting I'm reading, the prosecutor Hassan Liman informed the trial judge, Justice Ijeoma Ojukwu, that the order granted by the court was obeyed and defendant released. Counsel to the defendants, Femi Falana, acknowledged that Mr. Showore was released to him yesterday, and the court therefore adjourned to 11, 12, and 13th of February 2020 in the instance of the prosecutor to enable him serve his witness statement to the defending counsel. But trouble started when Mr. Showore and his counsel tried to leave the courtroom after the sitting. He was accosted by operatives of DSS who tried to forcefully take him out of the court. So as we speak, the report goes, Mr. Showore is, in court there, refusing to leave. But so that's the end of the release there, and that's something of an update on the story as we know it. So, it's breaking. Mr. Showore has reported, to the court, and now with the attempt of the EFCC, you can see a picture that it sort of speaks for itself. That is forceful. That looks like they will effect a forceful action if necessary. So, Mr. Showore in court, refusing to leave.
It's a merry-go-round.
Really, it is. Really, it is. We'll see how this whole matter goes.
Well, but unfortunate.
But back to the subject matter here, because things are different. Back to the subject matter here. Well, he now, that is the convicted governor. First of all, I wonder, two things playing on my mind. I was wondering, how did he become a member of any political party, bearing in mind the baggage that he carries? Because, look, there's always the danger that this whole matter might come back to bite us, but he did become a member of a political party. Now we have the situation on our hands where the chief whip, a member of the Senate chief whip and a member of the ruling party is in prison, having been convicted, of corruption. How does that sit? And by the way, does he have to resign now, since no convict can actually seek elective office?
Well, I think INEC said there's going to be an election, so if that's the latest information I heard, that there's going to be an election.
But there's still the whole matter of appeal that you guys have spoken about. So if there's an appeal and you hold an election, when the man is now declared, you can go.
We look at it at that stage. We haven't reached that stage.
Again, it's about the bridge and crossing it.
Yes, let's just take each day as it comes. Okay. For now, we don't want you see, you can't...
sorry, once again, I'm going to offend you by interrupting you. But this time, it's my friend, Reverend Dominic, calling in from Alimosho. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Yori. How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Good morning to your eminent guest this morning.
Sure.
Good morning.
Yori, yesterday when I brought the news to you, the reason that you will be following this trial since 12 years ago. And I want to tell you also, by the grace of God, there's another brother from the southeast, and I'll mention his name. He also going to trial, or Hakim will still join Orji Kalu. Why? The reason that this is a state that is in their need of money. For you to put your hands in that pocket of that state to take up over 9 billion or 6 billion is a camera. This young man now in prison, I can now talk about him boldly. I'm Reverend Dominic. He turned to Abia State, an industrial state, to a butcher ground. He created what they call Bakassi and used Bakassi against his opponent. When those days we don't go home, if you go home and open your mouth, they will send you Bakassi boys. They'll come and massacre you. Now this is what Orji Kalu turned to Abia State to. This state I'm talking about, by 1993, the WHO, UNDP, United Nations Development, has said that by year 2000, Abia State, which is Aba, will become the China or Taiwan of the whole world. But this man brought that industrial development backwards 50 years back and turned everybody that comes to Aba to buy from Cameroon, from Lagos, turned them, they run away. Because if you come to buy shoe in Aba, they pick a pocket, they will kill you. This is what this man did. Whether he resigned as a, whatever you call it, a national president or not, whether he become the Senate president, it's no more relevant now. He's now a convicted Senate president or equivalent chief whip. It can be anything he wants to be. But thank God that the answer of the law has catch up on him.
Thank you very much.
Trying to talk to me.
Oh, thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. The law has caught up with him. Well, the judge actually was saying that, and I was, I don't know if I was surprised, but that he was actually quoting the late Dele Giwa.
There are two issues.
Sure.
Let me respond to Justice's concern that why did the judge forfeit the asset to the federal government of Nigeria? The question is who are the prosecutors in this case? It's the EFCC, if I'm right. And the EFCC is an agency of the federal government. So normally in other crime, we can say this is a federal prosecution in the recent. And now, so if the federal government bring you to court that you stole this and that, and the judge find you guilty, if he's going to forfeit anything, he's not going to go to forfeit to Abia State or Ogun State, who they are not the one.
Since we've established that because
so
I'm not Father Christian.
that's one. And secondly, so what the judge which has done is to say, look, this should be forfeited to federal government. And now he also criticized the judge for commending the EFCC. And I think you have an issue with that. You see, judges are human beings as well. If you have a case before me, and you assisted me with a recent authority that will help me to decide that case, you put all the papers in a nice bundle whereby, and you number them,
easily
and then
accessible.
I can easily follow the case without much ease. Definitely, there is nothing wrong if, in delivering my judgment, if I commend you for bringing to the court attention
the thoroughness of your presentation.
Yes, there is nothing wrong with that. But his own major concern, there are other people who are concerned that, it's Look Nigeria Limited, that the judge said should be wounded up. It has got nothing to do with Slok International. It has nothing to do with Slok Sun newspaper. It has nothing to do with, you see, you can't raise that argument. In the legal parlance, there's something you call tracing. And this is where I align myself with his line of thought that the Attorney General of that state needs to come up. And it's not impossible. You see, you get a criminal who will steal from his employer, let's say his employer, for instance, and he now set up a taxi service around the Keja here, using the proceeds of that his criminal activities to set up that taxi service. And he started making a lot of money. Thereafter, he now said, I'm going to set up another airline from the profit of the taxi business. And now he makes money there. Then he said, look, I'm now going to start a haulage business. Now, if he gets convicted for stealing from the employer, now the employer can do what is called tracing, that look, it is the proceeds of that criminal activities that you use in setting up this airline and the haulage business. And this is where, if it is true, and he even said something that, where did he get this money that he used to do this and that, if not Abia people's money? If he has used that money to set up this and that. And also, there's something I want Nigerians to remember. Initially, when this man was charged to court in 2007 or so, because I recall I was in the country, I think there was a problem whereby the Sun newspaper was actually closed down. And they said, the federal government said they have an interim forfeiture order, and then one thing or the other, they resurface again. And it is very interesting that this morning, their front page news is not even about Orji Kalu. But I understand where it is an interesting point. I do understand.
You know, but Mr. Yakub has been holding on for a long while. Good morning, Mr. Yakub, and apologies for keeping you waiting. Have I lost him already? Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Yakub, see if you can call in again. But I had to let the lawyer
It's a regular, he will come back.
Indeed.
Yes, and my other concern, I think, let me just address your question as to why did the political party, which one political party managed to, well, that is not far-fetched. This man is a member of the APC. There is no deal about that. But I'm not blaming the political party because, number one, if they come around, they want to, whether they are facing criminal this and that, and they want to join your party. If you turn around and say, look, we can't join, that can lead to all sort of legal action because they can say, look, are you presuming me guilty at that point? What you need to do is that you can say, look, you can join, but we cannot give you any responsible position at this stage until you clear yourself of that criminal allegation, which is against
But usually,
in order to avoid
political parties
but
don't take anybody on that they don't think have electoral value.
Exactly.
So this whole matter about electoral value, at what cost, at what price? Because if a person is known to have zilch electoral value, I doubt that any political party is going to pay him any particular attention. But I have Louis, if I got that right. Louis is calling in. Good morning, sir. Oh, Apostle Louis. Apostle Louis, good morning.
This is Louis, by the grace of God, an apostle and a preacher of gospel from Enugu.
Okay.
Please, I want to line myself with one of the guests there, mostly in a black suit.
Yes.
Talking about investigation before persecution and then persecution before investigation. Now that we have gotten to this tight corner, and this thing is not helping the nation. How can we now quell this situation? What is the next step forward in order to correct this bad thing? Because it's creating a lot of confusion in the legal system in Nigeria. You will not investigate before you arrest. So please, elucidate more on that issue. How can we now change that thing to effect the procedure of legal things in Nigeria? Because these things are causing confusion. Please help and tell the government and tell us the whole world how Nigeria can change this thing, because since he is causing this problem, that is where the legal matters in Nigeria is being prolonged. So help us and let the government legislate about this, so that, and because in Nigerian system, if you are investigating them before, the politicians will go and, further the investigation with their monetary power, influence, and things like that. And it becomes a very difficult situation to, come by now. So, please, this is one of the major issues you need to tackle as early as possible before the next arrest and the persecution and the investigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Apostle. Well, Justice, he said he aligned himself with your comment, but you understood him.
Yes.
And the whole question about, I think where you gentlemen commented that ordinarily investigations would have been concluded before you now, go ahead. He's saying what can be done about that.
Well, I think it's a very simple thing. Just like the ACJA had come to remedy some lacunas in our legal system, there could be further legislation on that. Because if we do not do that, there will continue to be problems in our legal system, especially in the criminal aspect part of it. I read a news this morning. I think one party, I don't know, somebody was saying that the Orji Uzor Kalu's conviction was political. Now, let me tell you, this is the reason why political parties in Nigeria must do the needful. You ask a question here. Does he not belong to a political party? Remember that Orji Uzor Kalu was a governor under PDP. After becoming a governor under PDP, he was, in fact, he was still a member of PDP by the time he was arraigned in court. And now, it's like somebody was telling me yesterday, it could have been a clash of the titans between the two parties. Now you were with us before, when you were in court. Now you are in this place. We must make sure that the prosecution gets to the conclusion. Why these people might say, okay, let us see also what we're going. And that brings me back to the question you asked. Proactively, and people in Nigeria, let's even leave about political party. If we have people who are viable and who are truthful, what I call sincerity of purpose, our political parties or any political party is supposed to look at somebody who has a criminal, matter pending in court, even has been indicted by any commission of inquiry, to allow that person to contest election under the political party's platform. Like you said, everybody has a right to be a member or even change your party. But it's a no to us. If I'm a chairman of a political party, no. If you have any dent in you, those people, they say he who has skeleton in his cupboard should not make noise. We cannot give you any tickets.
That seems to be the logical approach. But never mind logic, there also appears to be a political approach.
If we are sincere, that's why I talked about sincerity of purpose. If we are sincere to amend this country, there are so many things we must do. We must start from ourselves. It's not only about winning a election, doing this or doing that. No, that person you're feeding. Remember that people know that the person you're feeding to go and contest an election has a question to answer. In as much as he has not been convicted, but at least something is wrong. So remember that he went to this matter even to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court said no, go and answer your question. He has a case to answer. So we must look at some of these things holistically.
Mr. Ayeni in Surulere, good morning, sir, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning.
And good morning to your two guests
for
the studio there. Yeah, I think this is a landmark judgment. And I think this is, send a shiver into the hearts of other corrupt former governors. Because
in fact, all senior public officials.
Exactly. Because for a known person and a very high-figured person in APC like that to be jailed and nothing anybody can do about it, except even if they apply to appeal court or whatever. I think this is a very good development. And secondly, all the whalers concerning this government, I think they will have a rethink now. But that is not business as usual.
By which you mean critics.
Critics.
Or critics of the ruling party.
Okay. Exactly. So they will see that we are getting there, and we will surely get there in this nation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
By the way, because of what he said, quickly, you see, let us stop being political in everything we do. It will not help us. We cannot move forward. You know why? This is not the first time in the history of Nigeria that a former governor is being convicted.
You are saying we should stop being political. You're asking us to stop being human.
No.
Yes.
No, understand what I'm trying to say.
You're asking us to stop being human.
Some people who are saying, no, we should commend. Is it so? Former governors, senators, even heads of political parties, have you forgotten the case of Bode George? Have you forgotten there is and all the rest? All these people were all PDP members, but they were convicted by the court. Why is it an issue? Because he's an APC man now. Was he in APC before? What we are saying is this. I have said it here today. No matter how
what is it? I asked the question, why did APC even take him on?
That is what, we have tried to clear that. To me, I said that.
Why did APC take Saraki on?
I said that.
That later became a big problem.
As far as I'm concerned, the political parties are causing problems because they are not doing what they are supposed to do to sanitize the system. There's no two ways about it. As far as I'm concerned, it's a legal and judicial matter. And that's why I say that time does not run against the state. No matter how long it takes, for the fact that the matter has started ab initio, one day it must end. And his own has ended now.
I see that the presidency has commented. One of the papers in front of me here has the sub-headline, "Same fate awaits other looters, presidency," which can only mean that it's optimistic that, we're getting there now, since the presidency has consistently said that, look, the judiciary, rule of law, democracy, that's where we are. Even if it takes time, sorry, that's where we have to be. Why were you shaking your head, Mr. Aino?
Yes, well, because I don't share that optimism in the sense because of one conviction. There are still others. And also, you see, my major concern is this. I think I understand where justice is coming from and the gentleman that's called about this investigation. You see, there's a way... This,
the whole matter about
investigating before this and
arresting.
that. You see, you have to be very careful about that because as soon as you get information, okay, somebody phoned, I'm a police officer, somebody phoned the station and said, look, oh, my wife has just stabbed me. Do I first of all go, sorry, my husband just stabbed me, sorry. Do I just first of all go and investigate that is it true he stabbed you? Do I need to go and get medical, whether you are a victim of a stab wound? Yeah. The first thing I need to do is to arrest the perpetrator first and make sure I either grant him a bail condition that you must not contact that woman for now until this and that. At that point in time, we may not even charge you to court. That is why sometimes you get some of these prosecutors, they quickly arrest because they really want to use administrative bail as a way of restraining the accused person from interfering with witnesses and this and that. And if you don't do that, as soon as they are aware that there is something that is going on, some of them are going to make moves to make sure that either you don't come forward to come and give evidence and what have you. So that is an aspect we need to look at seriously. But
we've run out of time.
Okay,
we've
thank
run
you.
Out of time.
Yes.
And by the way, this whole conviction, 12 years, the former governor, current chief whip, he's now a convict. Of course, he's going to appeal.
Well, for now.
For now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But until the third floor appeals the conviction.
Where does he have to go to custody and then
It's
from
custody.
and there from there if when he begins his appeal,
he's in custody.
so he will not sleep at all.
No, he's in custody. You know, formally, they can really ask for stay of execution.
Yes,
but the ACJA had a remedy that. So you will be in custody while you now. The only remedy for you now is to apply for bail pending appeal.
Okay, and that will
it
also
also
considered.
provides, not even because it also provides that it must be on a special circumstances, health grounds, and all the rest.
And I don't know.
It's not in custody, it's in prison.
He's in prison.
Yes.
Prison.
And that's it. But the only thing, this is a testimony that criminal glories are temporal. What the EFCC should do, as my last point, is that we don't want what happened in the Chief Body Judge case to happen. You know, he was subsequently exonerated.
Yes.
So they need to sit down and get ready for the appeal and deal with it.
Any way you look at it,
and also
both you guys are no doubt commending the ruling party and this particular administration.
No, I'm not commending
You're not commending.
No.
Okay. In any way, it's okay. If you're not commending them, let me thank you.
With the
Let me
judiciary.
thank you for coming on, Mr. Justice and Mr. Premier. You know. Thank you.
No, it has nothing to do with the government.
Okay, so that's our program today. Please join us on Monday for a fresh edition and have a great weekend. Bye-bye for now. morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani, and the big news out is that the former Abia Governor, Orji Uzor Kalu, and current Chief Whip in the National Assembly, the Senate, has been sentenced to 12 years in prison for corruption. Is it a surprise, or is it not a surprise? Well, my guest this morning got Mr. Justice Ufwebu, lawyer and human rights activist, and Mr. Femi Aino, international lawyer, to help us look at the matter. He's been convicted. It'll be 12 years. He'll be spending 12 years there, subject to whatever happens at the appeal. But where we stand right now, he's in prison custody, yes, because he has been convicted.
Yes.